Okay, good. So we're ready to begin. So let's begin by lying down. So take any comfortable reclining position on your mat. You can lie with your legs outstretched, or you have your knees bent with your feet flat, whatever feels comfortable. Put a little prop under your knees if you like. If you're more comfortable sitting, that's fine too. So we'll just be settled here. Let your eyes close or let your gaze be soft. Let every part of you that's touching your mat or touching the floor rest heavily. If your knees are bent with your feet flat, you might want to tip your knees in toward each other so that they can keep themselves in place. Or maybe you like to have your knees out to the side in a bound angle position if that's comfortable for you at this point in the morning. Maybe, maybe not. Check around. See if you're holding tension in any part of your body. No judgment, just becoming aware. Just take easy breaths without attempting to manipulate your breath in any way at the moment. Just observing it. Just check your breathing and make sure that you're allowing the full amount of time to take a relaxed exhale, a little pause, a relaxed inhale, a little hold at the top of the inhale before you take a relaxed exhale again. Let your attention follow those 4 parts of the breath cycle around a few cycles of breath. And now we will manipulate the breath a little bit. So we're going to fill the lungs up, and then when you think they're full, fill them just a little bit fuller. And then take a long, relaxed exhale. If you like, you can place your hands on your ribs or your belly to just feel the breath going in and going out. So on the inhale, you're going to sort of top your lungs up a bit, really trying to stretch out all the little cracks and crevices of the lungs. Spread the ribs apart a little further than they usually go, and then be sure to exhale fully. And then when you've completed your current breath cycle, just let that manipulated pattern of breathing go and return to your unobserved pattern of breath. If you don't already have your knees bent and your feet flat, go ahead and do that now. Let your arms just rest out to your sides with your palms facing up for a moment. Feel your shoulders relax into the floor. Feel the back of your arms And maybe the back of your hands on the floor. Sometimes people's hands don't want to relax down to the floor right away. You can stretch your fingers out, reach out through the thumb, through all the fingers, as if you were kind of trying to turn your hands inside out, and then let them relax. And stretch them out again as if you were trying to kind of press your palm forward of the hands, and the fingers and the thumb come behind your palms. And let them relax again. And bring your toes up off the mat. Spread your toes out wide. Draw the toes back toward your feet. And let them relax and rest down on the mat. And bring them back again. Spread the toes out wide. Draw them back toward your feet, all the toes. And let them relax again. Now, if you have a strap or a towel or something handy, you might want to use it. We're going to raise the legs up overhead a bit, but it's not necessary. You can just hold your leg behind the thigh or behind the knee, wherever you like, or you can just hang on to your pants or not hang on at all. So draw your right knee in toward your chest. Just hold it loosely behind the thigh. Gather it in toward your body, stretch the other leg, the left leg out, lead out with the heel, take a long stretch between the two legs, flex both feet as you do that, then let the feet relax and draw your left heel back underneath its knee. And now with the right leg, open and close at the knee joint. So you're leaving your thigh close to your body and just opening it, closing at the knee joint, lifting your foot up toward the ceiling, leading with the heel. And as you do that, just keep a little eye on your leg and your foot and see if everything is staying lined up. The long bones of the legs lined up with the hip joint, and the long axis of the feet staying lined up with the legs. No need to really try to straighten the knee joint. We're just opening and closing it in a rather gentle way, just a little mobility at the moment. And then close your leg back down and draw your leg out to your right side a little bit, not way far out. And we'll just open and close again. So now you have your leg a little externally rotated, still got the thigh in toward the torso, and we're just going to open and close and keep a little eye on your leg. See if everything is staying lined up. We're going to pay some attention to the knees today. And let the leg close back down, bring it back toward your center. Straighten the other leg again, hug that right thigh toward your chest, press away with your left heel, and leaving your left leg outstretched. Now cross your body with your right thigh. So your knee is now a little bit toward the midline of your body. You can hold on the outside of the knee with your left hand, if you like. And now we're going to open and close there. So once again, your thigh is in towards your torso and you're just opening and closing at the knee joint. And just, have a little eye out there, see how things are going with your lineup of your legs and your feet. So we're not criticizing anything here. We're just kind of taking note of how it looks and how it feels. And we'll have a few of those opening, closing, let it close back down again. And now you could roll up onto your left hip so that your whole torso turns. You could stretch your right arm out on the floor with the palm facing up. Perhaps turn your head to look toward your right hand, taking a bit of a body twist here. And use an exhale to bring yourself back up to the center and let your right foot fall to the floor. Press the foot away from you, stretching both legs long, reaching your arms up overhead for a long body stretch. And then on an exhale, bring your arms down and bring your left knee in toward your chest. Give a stretch between the two legs, hugging the knee to the chest and pressing the right heel away from you. And then we're going to open and close the knee on this side. It would be a little more comfortable if you bring your left foot in with the left knee bent. Nope, right knee bent, right foot in. And we're opening and closing the left knee now. And so again, leave the thigh close to the torso, just open and close at the knee joint, pressing the left heel up toward the ceiling and just have a little look at it, see how it feels, see how it looks. See if it likes to stay lined up or if it thinks like it would like to make more of a little sort of corkscrew action there. And we'll just try a few of those. And then draw your knee out to your left side a little bit. And we'll do a little opening and closing there. If you like, you can stretch your other arm out along the floor, or you could put your hand on the top of the right hip, just keeping it nice and steady there. So we just got the left leg a little bit externally rotating and opening and closing. Just keep a little eye on the alignment of that leg. And then bring it back toward the center. Stretch your right leg long. Get it out of the way. And you can switch hands so that you have your right hand on the outside of the left knee. And we're just going to cross the body a little bit with that leg. So the back of the left hip staying down on the mat. And then we'll do a little opening and closing here. And just take note of where are things constrained? Where does your leg start thinking, oh, I don't really want to open and close anymore? Or where is it thinking, well, I'd like to just kind of curve around a little bit here? So just taking note, maybe feel this on the outside of the leg a bit. And let your leg fold back down, and then we'll roll up onto the right hip, taking a bit of a spinal twist here, stretching the left arm out on the floor. You can look toward that extended arm if you like. And just having a little bit of a twist here. And on an exhale, roll back to the center and let your left foot fall to the floor. Press that heel away from you. Stretch the arms up overhead in another long stretch of the body again. And exhale to bring your arms back down, bring your knees in toward your chest, and let your knees span the two sides of your body so you have your arms hugged up kind of toward your armpits. See if you can leave your tailbone down toward the floor while you're hugging your arms up toward your armpits. And we'll just take a little roll, a little bit of a roll side to side here. And then let your feet come down to the floor. And we're just let's do a little easy bridging. So let your arms rest out to your sides with your palms facing up. So you'll be pressing into the back of your arms and the back of your shoulders. Feet at about hip joints width apart, fairly close to your body. And with your knees lined up with your hip joints and with your feet. And now try pressing into the inside edge of your feet, particularly as you raise your bum away from the floor and then lower it back down. We're just picking it up, the spine up, all as one unit rather than articulating the different vertebrae of the spine. So inhaling up, exhaling down, just some easy ups and downs for the moment. And let your bum rest down again. Stretch your arms out to the side. Take a few easy sways of the knees. Use an exhale to bring the knees back up through the center and an inhale to let them come down to the sides. Bring yourself back to a centered position. We'll do a little figure four here. So bring your right ankle across your left thigh. See if you can keep the left leg positioned as it was when you had both feet down. So you still have your left foot lined up with your left knee and your left hip. And just let your right knee roll away from your body. So not forcing it to do anything in the moment, just letting it roll. Now, just experiment a little with leaving the right foot relaxed as you roll the knee maybe a little further away. You could use your hands to bring your right knee toward your left shoulder. So we're just kind of flapping the knee in and out here, just moving it gently. Notice how your knee feels with the foot relaxed. And then try drawing your right foot back toward your shin. So flexing at the ankle, and then let your knee flap in and out, and see if your knee feels any differently there. Just kind of varies from person to person as to whether flexing the foot makes the knee less prone to kinks in this position. And then we'll try a little something else, which is as you are flapping your leg, you're going to increase the distance between the inside of your raised foot. So that's the inside of the right foot and the knee. So you're sort of pressing the sole of that raised foot away from your body. And then try that flapping in and out and see if you feel any difference through the knee there. Just do this kind of gently for now. And then set that foot back down. You can take a couple other sways of the knees from side to side. And then set yourself back up in a symmetrical position again. And now you're leaving your right foot to the floor, lined up with the right hip joint, and bringing the left ankle across the left thigh. And just let the left knee roll away from your body. See if you can do that without squinching up on the opposite side. So see if you can leave the two sides of your body long. And you can use your hand to help your knee just kind of flap in and out. So you're letting it roll away from your body and then bringing the right knee toward the other way around, left knee toward the right shoulder. So try that with your foot relaxed. See how that's feeling on the knee. And then try it with the foot flexed at the ankle so the toes are coming back toward the shin. See if that feels any differently to you. And then try it with the sole of the foot trying to point away from your body. So you're lengthening the distance between the inside of your knee and the inside edge of that raised foot. See if that makes any difference to your knee or to any of the other sensations that you have around your hip and so forth as you move the leg in and out. Okay. And then let that foot come to the floor, and we'll bring the other foot up once more. So now you've got your right ankle across the left thigh, and we're going to take a few rolls here. So stretch the arms out with the palms facing up, and we'll let the raised knee roll over toward the floor. And exhale to draw it back up through the center. And then on an inhale, let that foot roll down toward the floor on the other side. Doesn't have to come to the floor. Exhale to bring it back up. And take another set of those. You can use whatever position of your foot seemed to make your knee feel comfortable being rolled out away from your body. Whether that's just a relaxed foot or flexed at the ankle or pressing the inside of the foot away from you. And then come back up to the center and let that knee come back down to the foot, come back down to the floor. And now bring your left ankle across the right thigh. Again, try to keep yourself lined up symmetrically through the torso and the supporting leg lined up with its respective hip joint. And now we'll do a little rolling here with the arms outstretched. So letting the raised knee roll down toward the floor, exhaling to draw it up through the center, and then letting the raised foot come toward the floor. So you're rolling on your hips and using the abdominal muscles to move you back and forth. A few of those. And then when you've completed a set of those, bring that raised left foot back to the floor, and now walk your feet out a bit wider than the mat. And now let your right knee drop in toward the mat. The left knee can stay up toward the ceiling, or you can let it drop out to the outside. And now reach up alongside your ear with your right arm. So you're pointing your right knee down toward the bottom of your mat as it's dropped into the center, reaching the right arm out overhead. Big stretch along the right side of the body, past the hip, up past the ribs, up past the armpit. And on an exhale, bring the knees back up to the center and bring that arm back down to a T position. And now let your left knee drop in toward your mat. And reach up with the left arm and point down with the left knee. Reach up through the left fingers, taking a long stretch on that side of the body. Maybe you feel it through the hip, maybe through the waist, maybe through the armpit. And use an exhale to bring the knees up to the center and the arm down and walk the feet back in. Take a little roll side to side so that you can roll yourself over onto one side. Rest a moment and then use your arms to press yourself up from the floor. And we'll come to a seated position. So take whatever you like to sit on to be comfortable. Feel like you can sit with a little forward tip to your pelvic bowl so that you can have a little inward curve at the waist part of the spine in the back. And you can sit upright with your hips centered over your shoulders, with weight partly in your sits bones and partly in the sides of your legs and the sides of your feet. And now, I should have said this just at the beginning, but I'll say it now since I didn't, which is knees are a part of the body that seem especially likely to become cranky. So please be kind and respectful to your own knees. There's no necessity of being dogmatic about any of the things that we're doing. So absolutely do not do things that cause you pain. Just do less. Don't do that thing at all. So first, we'll just see if we could be comfortable here in a bent-legged position. So maybe you want your feet a little farther away from your body. Maybe it's more comfortable to have your legs close to your body. Maybe you want your top leg stacked on the bottom leg, or maybe you like it better on the floor. Maybe you like some little pillows or something under your knees to make them comfortable. Whatever it seems like would allow them to be at least somewhat comfortable in this position will be great. So we'll just take a few breaths here. Just being aware of the sensations. And now let's switch the legs and sit with the opposite leg forward and or on top. And just notice how things are different. Notice if the sensations through your knees make any adaptation happen through the rest of your posture. Can you still sit upright with a little inward curve at the waist, with the shoulders stacked up over the hips? How are things feeling now? And now bring the legs out in front of you. I've got one knee that doesn't really want to straighten right away. I've got to be a little less high here, propped up. So now just kind of take a little stock of what your knees are doing here. So stretch your heels away from you, kind of pressing the legs down toward the floor. Notice how the knees are feeling there. Let them relax. Dig your heels in a little bit. This is easier if you have your heels on the mat. Turn sideways. I can do that. So dig your heels in a little, which makes your knees bend a little bit. Notice how that feels through the legs and also up through the torso. Yeah, makes your spine feel a little straighter perhaps, and then stretch out again. Stretch the legs out, and then come back in again. And stretch out again. And now bring your right foot in toward the left hip. And we'll leave the left leg outstretched with a little bit of flexion through the heel so that you have some muscle tone to that leg. And now press the right foot into the left thigh and see if you can let the knee relax out to the side and sit tall here. Sit very tall, maybe tent the fingers out to the sides, and then turn first away from the bent knee with a tall spine. Just let your torso do the turning, keep the head in line with the spine. Inhale yourself back to the center and turn the other way. So now you're going toward the bent knee and back to the center. Maybe this would make more sense if I was sitting the other way, in fact. So now we'll stretch both legs out again. And then we'll bring the left foot in toward the right thigh. Stretch the left leg along, pressing out through the left heel. Let your right knee roll down to the floor as much as it's likely to do that. You can tent the fingers for a tall spine here. Inhale long in the center, exhale to turn away from your bent knee, keeping that flexion in the extended leg, keeping the bent knee leg, foot pressed into the thigh of the opposite leg. Take a few breaths in this twisted position here and back to the center. And exhale to turn toward the bent knee, keeping a tall spine the whole while. And back to the center and stretch both legs long again. And now we're going to just experiment a little bit with picking up the legs. So give a little bend to the knees and then see if you can pick your right leg up off the floor just a little bit and let it down again. And then the other leg, just pick it up off the floor a little bit and let it down again. And then back to the first one. Press the heel away from you as you do that. Set it down again. And then on the left leg, press the heel away from you. Pick the leg up a little bit, or maybe just lighten it on the floor and let it down again. Bend at the knees, let the soles of the feet come toward each other. So we're sitting in a bound angle position. You can have your feet close to your body or far away from your body, doesn't matter. And now experiment a little bit with pressing the soles of your feet together all the way through your feet. So the inside edges of your feet are coming together, and then let them sort of open up like a book. And notice how that feels through the knees, through the thighs, maybe up through the pelvis and through the spine. Okay, so now we're going to try something a little more ambitious. So as I said, be kind to your knees and don't do things that make them hurt. So we're going to bring one thigh out to the front. So we'll bring the right knee out in front so that the right thigh is more or less extending out as it would be if you had your legs outstretched, except that it's rolled out to the side, right? And you could have the foot of that leg, so you could have your right foot in close to your left hip, or you could have your right foot further away from your body. So we're going to do a little fire legs here. And then we're going to bring the other leg out on top of that leg. Or maybe not, maybe not. Maybe you'll just stay like this with one leg out there and turn to the side. And see what happens, whether you have both legs stacked up or whether you have just one leg out there. If you press the sole of your foot away from you, so the inside edge of the foot is getting longer away from the inside of its knee, versus letting the feet relax, which probably means the soles of the feet are going to turn up toward the ceiling a little bit. And just notice how that is through the legs, through your knees, through your hips. And then unwind the legs, stretch them out in any comfortable position, give them a little loose, relaxed, jiggle up and down. And then we'll do that on the other side. So we're going to bring the left thigh out, straight out in front of the body with the left foot either close in toward your right hip, or it could be further away, either one. I'll stay on my mat though, because the floor is kind of hard on the ankle. And then we'll bring the other foot maybe on top of the other leg. Maybe it's not going to go on top of the other leg. If you have lots of space underneath the knee of the top leg, you could stuff a little pillow under there to make it more comfortable. And then again, just have a little experiment with both feet, whether you've got one leg crossed in front of you or both legs crossed in front of you, with what happens if you press the inside edge of your feet out toward the outside versus letting them relax and having the soles of the feet kind of tip up toward the ceiling. And just notice how that's going. On me, it goes all the way up my legs and into my hips. Getting a pretty clear demonstration of everything being connected to everything else. And then let that relax and bring your legs back out in any comfortable position. And take a little jiggle of the legs, and then bring them in, swivel them around, come to hands and knees so we can come slowly to a standing position. So you can bring one knee forward, tuck the other toe, and slowly press yourself up to standing. Okie doke. All right. So we'll take a standing mountain position. So find the joints of the hips a little in and a little down from the bony points, and then line up the knees and the ankles and the feet and the long bones of the legs under those points, more or less, right? Because everybody's body is not put together in exactly the same way. So generally, we say that we would like the knees and the feet to go the same direction at the same time. It's a pretty good rule for life. But not everybody's bones have exactly the same curvature. So if you find that something else works out much more comfortably, pay attention to that and make use of that information and make yourself comfortable. Okay. So we'll press the feet into the floor and especially press down through the ball of the big toe. Just press that ball of the big toe into the floor and let it off a few times. See if you can feel how that sensation propagates up through your legs. Press the ball of the little toe down. See how that propagates up through your legs. And then we're going to press all across the base of the toes, down the inside edge of the foot, down the outside edge of the foot, into the pads at the base of the heels, and then stretch upward from there. So we're aiming to give some tone to the legs all the way up for support to the knees. And all the joints. All the way up through the torso, lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the back of the neck. Palms turn forward a moment to broaden the chest. Lower arms and hands relax at the sides. And take a few steady breaths here. Okay, bring the hands to the heart. And we're going to bend at the knees a little bit, but not just at the knees, because if we're going to bend at the knees while we're standing up, we better bend at the ankles and the hips as well. So just a little bend for the moment. I'll stand to the side. So we'll take a little bend down and press up. Just take a few of those and just be aware of how things are feeling and where things are going. So you might take a little look down, see your knees, see if they seem to be tracking out over your toes as you bend and straighten them. Just easy, nothing too stressful here. And then try pressing into the pads at the base of your toes, very firmly at the base of your big toe, and see how that feels as you bend and straighten at the knee. Try the little toe. See how that feels. Try all across the toes. So I get the strongest sort of sense of stability through my knee if I press strongly into the pad of the big toe. And now let's stretch the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge, let yourself fold forward. Keep the spine long. You can let your hands run down your legs. And now let's bend and straighten the knees a little bit here. And now as you bend the knees, you may be able to stretch your spine longer. And as you straighten your knees, maybe your spine starts to think it ought to round. Bend down a little bit and straighten a little bit. Don't straighten the knees so far that they press out to the back and hyperextend. Stretch long, and then bend down again. Bring the hands to the heart. Press yourself upright, sweep the arms up overhead, and exhale the hands to the sides. So now we're going to sit into chair and stay there a little bit. So we'll bring the hands to the heart and bend at the knees, the ankles, and the hips to sit in chair. Have a little look past your knees to see if you've got a little bit of your toes showing there. And now try pressing into the ball at the base of the big toes. How does that make your chair feel? Try the outside edge of the foot. How does that feel? Try all the pads across the toes. How does that feel in the chair? And then press through the feet. Inhale the arms overhead and exhale the hands down to the sides. Okay. So now we're going to do a little stepping back and forth. I think it'll be best if I turn this way and face you. So let's step back. Bring the hands to the heart. Take a generous step back with your right foot. Land on the ball of the foot and the toes in a high lunge position. So look like this from the side. Check and make sure that your shoulders are upright over the hips. If you don't like it, if it's tippy to be with the heel up, you can let your back heel turn in a little bit and flatten the foot. If you're okay up on your toes, you'll be in the high lunge. And the front knee bent. And now press firmly into the big toe pad of the front foot. And see what that does to the knee on that left leg. See if it stabilizes the knee and keeps it from wobbling, especially wobbling inward. And we'll bring the arms up. You could bring them to warrior arms, or you could bring them to cactus arms. Take a few breaths here. And now we're going to bend the other knee. So we'll bend the back knee and dip down and then up, giving the arms kind of a big backstroke here. Just be moderate about this. So don't make the knees cranky. And back up again and bring the hands to the heart and step forward. So we'll do that on the other side. So take a generous step, and you can do this from the warrior one legs as well. Well, not the back leg dip bending, that won't work out so well. So step back into a high lunge position with your left foot coming back. See that the torso's upright. Press into the ball of the big toe on the front foot. Press into the ball of all the toes on the back foot as you press back with the back leg. And we'll bring the arms up, could be to warrior arms or to cactus arms. And then we'll do a little bending of the back knee. So we'll dip down, kind of taking a backstroke around, dip down, exhaling as you go down, inhaling as you bring the arms up. And one more of those. Inhale to bring the arms up overhead. Exhale the hands to the heart and step back forward to the standing mountain position. Okay, so now we're going to step back to warrior one legs, which is going to be different on the back knee, right? So I'll stand this way for a moment to step back with the right foot, let the heel turn in, let the front knee bend. So now what's different about this? Well, the toes and the knee of the back leg are turning out at a bit of an angle, right? So we're going to press into the ball of the big toe on the back foot. See how that feels. Press into the outside edge of the back foot. See how that feels. And notice especially how that propagates up through your knee, and take an amount of angle with the back foot, and also balance out the pressing into the inside and the outside edge of that foot to support your ankle and your knee. Press into the ball of the big toe on the front foot to stabilize the front knee. Turn the torso to face square to the front of the mat, and we'll bring the arms out to cactus arms here. So keep pressing actively into both feet. We'll inhale in the center, and we'll take a little rotation, exhaling to turn toward the bent knee, maybe not very far. Keep pressing into the feet. Inhale to come back to the center, and exhale to go the other way. It's easier to go that way because that's the way the hips are already going. Keep pressing into the feet. Come back to the center, bring the hands to the heart, and step forward. Okay. And now let's step back into Warrior One with the left foot. So straight back, let the heel turn in a bit. Try not to step on my blanket and fall down. The front knee bends out the middle of the front foot. Experiment with the amount of angle of your back foot, and also with pressing into the inside edge of your back foot and the outside edge of your back foot, so that you get good support to both the ankle and the knee on the back leg. Press into the ball of the big toe on the front foot, especially to stabilize the knee there. Turn the torso square to the front of the mat, and bring the arms out to cactus arms. A tall spine here. Inhale in the center, and exhale to turn toward the bent knee. Let your hips come around with you. Don't try to keep them facing the original direction, and come back through the center and turn away and back through the center, and exhale the hands to the heart and step back forward to the standing mountain position. Okay. All right. So now we're going to come back down toward the floor and do a little bit of swan and pigeon, so that you can see some differences, and a little bit of hero's seat to see some differences here. So I think maybe I should face forward for this. So bring yourself down to the mat, bring yourself to a kneeling position for a moment. I think we'll do the hero's pose first. So to begin with, just line up your knees under your hip joints, and your legs are going to stick out, your lower legs are sticking out behind you. If you can, put your feet flat to the floor so that you have both the top of the big toe and the top of the little toe pressing into the floor. Turn this way. And so if you have blocks or some other method of propping up your hands, that could be handy here, because we're going to move some weight back toward the feet, which may or may not prove to be a good idea. So first of all, we're just going to sit back onto the feet. And again, don't put more weight onto your feet, or don't pull your knees up any further than they are willing to do. And if you have a big book or something, you can make your feet a little farther apart and put the book under your bum so that you're not sitting down quite so tightly onto your feet. And they'll come back up again. And I'm going to turn this way so that you can see how my legs are going. So for asana, you actually sit down between your feet. I actually hate this pose, so I'm not sure why I'm teaching it, but at any rate, it is a good way to sort of check out what your knees are most willing and not so willing to do, but be very cautious about this. So we're going to have the legs a little bit far apart, and we're going to sit down with the bum between the feet. So be very gentle about this. So Sometimes people, when they sit down and they start to bring the bum between the feet, it's most comfortable if the toes sickle inward so that you have your lower legs rolled inward and you can sit down on them. That I can do, or sit down between them. Okay. For some people, that's terrible. And instead, their feet would like to go out to the side. So the lower legs are rotated outward and they sit down in a sort of a W shape between the feet. For me, not happening, not a happy place for the knees or the hips or anything. And back up again. So I'm not going to belabor this point, just taking a little note of the fact that the angle that your feet are making could make a big difference to your level of comfort. And we're just going to make a little use of that in exploring swan versus pigeon poses. So bring your right knee forward and extend your left leg back behind you. So both legs are facing more or less forward here. And so you've got your right leg folded up underneath you. Maybe you can bring your spine fairly upright here. Maybe not so much. Just kind of take note of how that feels. Taking a long stretch out of the back of the left hip. And then bring yourself back up. And we'll do that on the other side. So now we're going to extend the right leg behind and fold up the left knee with the lower leg lined up behind the upper thigh. And then let your weight come into your hands so you can bring that knee back underneath you. And now we're going to take a pigeon pose instead. So we'll bring the right knee forward again, but this time we're going to rotate. I think I have to turn this way. We're going to rotate the lower leg so it crosses the body. And it might cross it a lot or it might cross it a little. So your foot might come way out to the side, or your foot might be back toward your left hip. And you can experiment a little bit here with stretching the inside of your front foot away from its knee and back again. I have to hold a little weight up into my hands. My whole body doesn't want to sit right down onto this hip. And if you think, well, this is just all crazy, do it on your back instead. Just bring yourself up into that figure four position again. Otherwise, we'll extract from that pose. You can sit yourself back into an extended child's pose for a moment. All right, we're about to do some pigeon on the other side with the left leg coming forward and coming across in front of the other leg, and extend the right leg back behind you. Use your hands or use props to keep the right amount of weight into your hips and into your knees. Experiment a little bit with the position of your foot, rolling the bottom of your foot away from you, the inside edge of the foot away from you to take some strain off the knee. And press through the hands. You can tuck the back toe under to bring your knees back underneath you and take another stretch back into child's pose. This time I won't put my arms close to my head so that I don't turn myself off again. And then come back up. Okay, and now let's do one more thing, which is to bring ourselves down into a prone position. So let your knees walk back and your arms walk forward, your hands walk forward till you're in a half plank position. We'll just hold this for maybe about 10 seconds here, using the core muscles to keep your body in a long line from your knees up through your shoulders, out through your top of your head. Hips a little high is better than hips a little low. And then bend at the elbows, keep the elbows close to your body to lower your torso down onto the floor. Let your chin or your forehead rest. Actually, you can use your hands as a pillow for the head. And we're going to do a couple different things that involve the hamstrings, some of which involve bending the knees and some of which don't. So stretch each leg out behind you so you've got space at the front of the hips. Let your feet rest flat on the floor with the big toe and the little toe side of the top of the foot down on the floor. And now we're going to, on an inhale, stretch back through the right leg and let that carry your leg up off the floor a little bit from the hip. And exhale it back down. And then on the other leg, stretch the left leg back, comes away from the floor from the hip, doesn't have to come very far, and back down. And then on the other leg, away from the floor and back down, and then back to the left leg, away from the floor and back down. So that's one of the things the hamstring can do, is to move the whole leg behind the body. And then the other thing that the hamstring can do is to bend the knee. So we'll go to the right side and bring the foot up toward the ceiling and maybe back toward your bum. So squeezing the foot toward the bum on the right leg and then letting it back down. And we'll go to the other side and exhale as you squeeze the lower leg toward the upper leg and then back down. We're leaving the knee on the floor in this instance. And then on back to the right side, squeezing it in, back down, and lower it down with control. Now we're going to do a little different thing, which is to bend the knee on the right leg. Just have the foot up toward the ceiling. See if you can get the feel of having the toe pointed straight back behind you, foot flexed so that the toes are coming back toward the shin. And now see if you can lift your knee away from the floor. So the knee's coming away from the floor, so the thigh's coming away from the floor from the hip with the knee bent. Lower it back down, extend the lower leg, go to the other side. So on the left leg, first flex at the knee so the left foot starts the ceiling. And then give a squeeze to lift the left knee away from the floor so the thigh's coming away from the floor from the hip. And let the thigh back down and extend from the knee, straighten the leg again. And we'll just have time to do that once more on each side. So bring the right knee in so the foot's toward the ceiling. Squeeze so that the knee comes up off the floor, lifting the leg from the hip. So we're making both actions of the hamstring happen at once here. And lower back down and extend that leg. And then back to the left side, flexing at the knee, foot toward the ceiling. Squeeze to bring the knee up off the floor. And then exhale it back down and let the legs rest. And now bring both feet off the floor. You can walk your knees a little bit far away from each other. Take a roll of the hips from side to side to relax here. And let your legs come back down. And now we're going to crawl the right knee out to the right side so that you'll be resting on the inside of your thigh, the inside of your knee, the inside of your lower leg, and the inside of your foot. If you've got a ton of space between the right hip and the floor and you have a little pillow or a little towel or something, you could put it under there, and it might help it be more relaxed as it takes this little outward rotation position where we're just letting gravity open at the hip joint.
And then stretch that leg out behind you, move it back to the center, and now crawl your left knee out to the side. So you've got your inside of your thigh and the inside of your knee and the inside of your foot on the floor. You can bring your leg up high so that your knee is right out from your hip, but it doesn't have to come out that high. You could have your foot out as far away from your torso as your knee is or farther, or you could have your foot folded in closer to your right leg. Either way. And see if you can relax here. Let some breath travel in and out any parts that are stretching. Use gravity to create some outward rotation at the left hip. And bring that leg back behind you and roll yourself over onto your back. Let your knees be bent, your feet flat, stretch the arms out, either with your feet flat on the floor or bringing your feet up off the floor so that your lower legs are more or less parallel to the floor. Take some knee sways. Just do a little rotation of the spine here, side to side. Use your core muscles to move your legs through the center. Let the feet down, let the feet kind of wide apart. And take a few more sways of the knees side to side, letting one knee fall in while the other knee falls out. Again, using the core muscles to move your legs back up through the center line. And when you've done an even number to both sides, walk your feet back into the center. It is time for Shavasana in any position that you find restful. Could be lying on your back with your legs outstretched and your feet just comfortably rolled out. Could be with the feet flat and the knees bent. If you have props handy, maybe you like to have a little pillow or a little bit of roll of towel or blanket under the knees, or maybe if you have a wall, you could put the legs up the wall. Find a place where you're going to be comfortable enough that you could then become very still for a few minutes. Let your eyes close or let your gaze be soft. Once again, check around and see that every part of you that's touching the props or touching the floor is resting completely. No hovering, really sinking into the floor. You could bring your attention back toward your breath, not manipulating it, just following it as it comes in and goes out. If your mind is busy, see if you can anchor it a little more tightly to your breath and the sensations that your breath is making. If you'd like to take a longer Shavasana, please feel free to exit the meeting and be relaxed for as long as you like. Otherwise, let your breathing deepen a little. Give a little more emphasis to the inhalation. Start moving your fingers and your toes, maybe wiggling them lightly, maybe spreading out the fingers and then letting them relax as we did earlier. Maybe do the same thing with the toes. Spread them out wide, stretch them out, and then let them relax. Let your hands and your feet move a little bit, maybe circling the feet around the ankles and the hands around the wrists. And draw one foot and then the other in toward your body. If you've had your legs outstretched, a little bit of a roll side to side, just easy roll of the hips. And let that roll you to one side and rest there for several breaths with your eyes closed. And then use your arms to press yourself up from the floor and then exhale. Your torso, your head and neck hardly have to do any work to get away from the floor. And then take any kind of seated or kneeling position that would be comfortable just for a minute here. Sit a little forward on your sits bones. So your spine can be tall, you can be relaxed at the front of the hips. You can let your legs be in any comfortable position, doesn't have to be cross-legged. Your shoulders drop away from the ears toward the back of your body. Your elbows hang under the shoulders close to your side. Without hiking up your shoulders, bring the palms together. Bring the hands near your torso where you can feel your breath and your heart. And we'll close with one Om after an inhale. It's wonderful to have you practicing together today. Namaste.